Hey, welcome to our first interview here at Vision 2023. Who knows what order they're going to be released, Tommy, but it's the first one. We're putting this new studio configuration into play, and there was no one better that I thought.
Love being a guinea pig. Love
it. I love it. Tomi Oliva from San Jose Automotive in Chicago.
Yes, sir.
What's going on in Chicago?
Great news.
What is that?
We got rid of this mayor.
Wow. Isn't that is so interesting. I've kind of been following it in the news every once in a while about it's not a recall. It's just it's a runoff.
There were so many potential candidates that part of it is right now the top two became the next candidates. So they're going to square off with each other in April sometime, I believe, or March.
I've been to Chicago. It's a great city, but then we've seen so much news articles coming out about, and in fact, I don't think it's the murder capital of the U.S. I think there's another city that topped it.
So Chicago, a lot of the media bias can go actually both ways of the political spectrum.
Sure.
Because it was caught in the crosshairs of the Republicans versus the Democrats, a two-way versus non-two-way. But the reality is it's not as bad as it's made out to be. But under the leadership of this current mayor, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West for a little bit. So I'm hoping that somebody else can come in and straighten things out, because you don't definitely want to see a city like that fall. I mean, like any metropolitan area, there's always going to be crime. There's always going to be bad areas, but the city had a shine to it and kind of like lost its luster a little bit. I hope we can get it back.
I've been doing this for 8 years, and this is the first time ever out of 1,100 plus episodes that we've ever talked politics. So we'll accept that and move on. And I'm happy that you're happy, and that hopefully Chicago can find themselves a new direction. So, I've had you on a while back. You did a For the Record show for us. Would you work for you?
I remember.
And that was, I can't remember when it was, maybe in 2019 or something like that.
Correct.
And it was a great episode, and I loved your passion for it. Now it's been a whole bunch of years. We went through COVID. There's so many things I want to talk to Tommy about. His business, his hybrid mobile type business, his work with Trained by Techs. And all that's going on with that, because I know you are passionate about our industry, and you wouldn't be here at Vision if you didn't want to stay as current as you possibly can.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've gotten to a point where it's financially not beneficial to be here, but the fact that it's given me so much, like the introduction to the industry, the birthing of even TBT has come directly from me coming to Vision, and I feel that it's kind of a requirement, like if you're in the top echelon of, and I don't consider myself there, but if you're trying to be in the top echelon of technicians, I think you need to come regardless of any like financial repercussions and stuff like that. But I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I came.
Of late, Tommy, there has been so many incredible words that have come out of my guests. Top echelon. You just said that. That it's almost like, what's an A tech? What's a level 10 tech? What's an R&R versus a diag tech? But top echelon basically describes whatever you want to do. If you want to be the best R&R, then be in the top echelon of that.
For sure.
Right? Because there's a lot of people that aren't born to jump inside a diag issue.
Correct. And I feel like as shop owners, we need to notice that as well. Like, you're not going to be able to, because I see it both ways, right? Like, I see how a lot of shop owners want to cram training down somebody's throat, and then they're upset because they didn't get anything out of it, or they didn't learn anything, or like, oh, why am I wasting my money? No, you need to just have a conversation. Like, listen, man, like, what do you want from me? Like, what is it that you expect? What is it that you want to do? He's like, honestly, man, I want to hang brakes. I want to sell ball joints. I want to install struts, man. I can care less about CAN networking. I can care less about most bus. I can care less about diag. Okay, no problem, man. Then, I will assess my business strategy, and I will, put those funds towards something else, maybe like a brake lathe or whatever, just something to help you prosper in your way. But I feel like some of us get too caught up on the other side of like not trying to be that shop that doesn't want to pay for training and trying to overtrain.
Why? I mean, so if you don't find value in the class, then you picked the wrong class.
Correct.
If you don't find value in the class, maybe you picked the wrong trainer. I mean, everybody learns at a different pace and a different intake.
100%. It's that one quote. It was a wonderful quote, and it said, "You never judge a frog by how he climbs a tree." Right?
Never judge a frog by how he climbs a tree.
A fish. It was a
fish.
Yeah, it was a fish. Never judge a fish about how he climbs a tree. It's not meant to climb a tree, obviously. It's
That's
fish.
right. Yeah.
So that's kind of how I've taken employees. Like the gentleman that I have with me right now, he wants to learn, but his strengths are R&R. So say, for example, if I diagnose perfect example, wiring repair, right? And we have to pull the interior carpet. Okay, I'll get it done.
Give it to me.
Yeah, he'll take it apart. We'll work on we'll finish the vehicle together. He'll put it back together, and I'm done. That's what I have him for.
Doesn't a good diag guy need a really good R&R to support him?
Correct. I 100% agree, because everybody plays to their strengths. I don't want to my heavy set self doesn't want to be crawling underneath the dashboard.
God, yeah.
Like it's not feasible for me. I'll probably be there twice as long as him. In that time frame, I'll diag 4 or 5 cars probably.
What makes you a good diag guy? I mean, are you wired for this?
I think so. Most of my background in diag actually came from when I went to UTI. I really enjoyed electrical. I love puzzles. I like puzzles. Like I like it's called chasing the rabbit.
Yeah.
And when I my father's shop was in a kind of like a very low income neighborhood, so most of the R&R stuff at the time was very, very competitive. Very, very low labor rate type of shops in the neighborhood. So you really couldn't compete price wise. But because I started getting cars for like electrical issues and my name started to kind of grow in my neighborhood, I started realizing that, hey man, like I can command what I want. Like I've gotten cars from 3 or 4 shops, and I can just charge basically, obviously within reason, but at least it's not, oh, you only want to pay me $40 to change some brake pads. No, this is going to be $200, $300, $400 at the time. This is like mid 2000s. And so I dove into it, and that was my evolution in the industry. I went from, okay, fine, I diagnosed your vehicle. You need an engine computer. Mobilizer systems were present during this time frame. Okay, I need to call somebody to reset the immobilizer, add keys, et cetera, et cetera. And I started observing them. I'm like, man, these guys really aren't, doing anything super difficult. Why can't I do that? All right, get into that. Programming was next after that. And then after programming, it was EEPROM work.
So you're telling me or us, the audience, of your evolution and how it all blossomed for you.
Because I'm a firm believer in, if you do not evolve, you die off.
So if you're a diag tech listening to this, or a shop owner says, listen, do you know the strengths of the people who work in your shop? Have you ever sat down and says, I love this term, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, hopefully you never grow up, and you always want to be a perpetual student and always learn things about work, life, technology. But we may be putting our people in the wrong roles and something they're uncomfortable with.
I totally agree. And if you notice, like the most successful, or in my eyes, right? Because success is measured by different sticks, but in my eyes, like and these are not all of them, but some of the successful shops that I've run into, one locally to me, and of course, Mr. Silverstein Dutch.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that they have. They can see, like, okay, no, this guy is here, this guy's there. Like they're really good at matter of fact, Dutch, for example, right? He'll take an employee out to dinner before he even hires them.
Right.
That's an amazing, like, who does that? Like, nobody. Like it's an amazing, and you think about it, right? Like, why would you even waste your time? And then you really, really think about it. No, it's about fit. Do you fit right in my place? You're
100% right. Let's go back to the B2B diag work that you do. I mean, it's no problem that a shop brings you a really challenging issue and you say, bring it on, I love it. I mean, they just upcharge it once. Are you discounting for B2B, or are you getting your full price?
I get my full price, but I set them up so they can actually make money. But to be very honest with you, like I would say maybe like 80% of my shops, they don't care, because for those shops, I'm the cleanup guy. They already, installed and sold a computer or this. Matter of fact, because of my programming abilities, I get a lot of diag work. Yeah, can you install this computer? Sure, sir, no problem. Hey man, I can't finish this function because there's this code in here. Oh shoot, man, that code was there before. I'm like, hey, you want me to look at it? Yeah, please look at it. I'm up by what's end with this customer. I've had it for 2 weeks. I can't figure it out. So that programming and becomes a diag as well.
We as an industry, Tommy, are we charging enough for our diag work?
No, we don't, because some of us are afraid, and some of us don't understand it ourselves. Honestly, like some of these shop owners, it's
fear, isn't it?
Yes, it's fear. It's very fear driven. It's desperation driven as well, because again, sometimes when you're new to the business, or you're running a high volume establishment, you're thinking like, okay, more work is more money, so I can charge cheaper. But it's not always the same. It doesn't always work that way. I learned, and coming to Vision, I've learned actually that it's better to charge more and do less. You're still making the same amount of money.
It's almost like the investment is bigger, Tommy, I think, on the diag side, with all the computers and the systems and the subscriptions that you need. And yet we fail to want to really charge for that ROI.
And that's fine, honestly. Like I'm okay with that. But the problem is, then you need to specialize in what you're good at. Like, and I give this example to some of my shops. I'm like, okay, like, oh man, I always lose my behind on these jobs, and I'm tired of it. I'm like, can you, do you know anybody that can train me? I'm like, listen, man, I go, do you like doing this? No. So then why are you doing it?
Hey, look, if you earn your living in the automotive service aftermarket, Apex is for you. Now, if you attended Apex 2022, then you realize the incredible commitment that Apex has to the service professional, shop owner, and technician. Joe's Garage is your place to be, with 10 working bays as you experience real live working conditions, along with exciting demonstrations and the latest equipment presented. Also, the best tech companies, from tools and repair to management software, had their latest and the greatest on display. You also attended technical business management training with the industry's best and brightest. Work is already underway to make next year's Apex 2023 even better than ever, with more product demos, trending training, marketing, and the latest in business management training to help you grow your sales and profits. Remember, if you earn your living in the aftermarket, then Apex is the expo for you. Continue listening as we bring you the latest from Apex 2023. Save the date, October 31st through November 2nd, 2023. Hey, let's face it, your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NapaTrax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing tracks to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, will be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NapaTrax, that's NapaTracs.com.
5 years down the road, you have added more people, more bays. I mean, you're really rocking, and you are, in Chicago, the only diag specialty shop. You're not a Euro this. You know it all, have it all. You have all the equipment, all the subscriptions you need, and you are growing and grooming level 10, upper echelon diag guys. Will that business model ever work?
That's the problem. It's not really a model, right? Because it won't work for everybody. A model is something that if Carm can do this, you can make money. Like, for example, and not knocking this at all, some of the coaching groups, they have a model, right? And if you follow that particular model, there's a high probability that you will be successful following that model. This type of thing relies too much on you as a person and as your skill level, and if you enjoy this or not. If you enjoy diagnostics and you enjoy the high end of the industry, it will absolutely work for you. It's a very prosperous business model.
Well, that's my point. You wouldn't hire anyone who didn't love doing
Correct.
diag. You have to have some R&R guys working for you, but you don't do brakes. You don't do front end. You don't do tires. You are the quintessential go-to B2B and or B2C diag shop specialty. And for some crazy thoughts that I've been having of late, which is sometimes very dangerous, I envision, that we got the Euro shops and the Asian shops, or you could have this diag shop with your Mercedes guy and, all of your, if you will, platform diag specialists. Now, maybe I'm talking really crazy and weird, but since technology isn't going away,
No.
and it's getting bigger and better, it's like it's an ADAS shop. Just put it up and do ADAS. Just do it, and let us all go out and find the people we need to serve me. If I'm a general guy and I want my customer to love me and come here, he may not know I'm going to take his problem to your place.
Correct. And see, and that's where not to backtrack a little bit, but that's where I'm heading at in terms of like everybody just needs to specialize. That's going to be the best thing for our industry. We need to specialize. There's no going back. We're at that point. We're at that breaking point right now. That yes, there's some shops in this country that have done an amazing job at being able to be a one-stop shop. But the reality is, it doesn't fit everybody. It doesn't suit everybody.
Right. And I don't think that business model works for everyone,
No.
which is where that whole specialized focus is. And I don't know, I may look back in 5 years to this episode that we're doing, or the crazy think that I continue to have with people, because I'm asking everyone that I know in the industry about these kinds of new and different business models. And I think it's going to take some really special people that want to go out and take some risk and just do this. Look, how do we make a great diag tech?
It's patience, because there will be mistakes, money, because those mistakes cost money, and overall the willingness to train, right? Because the essential problem that we've had in this industry is the flat rate mentality, and that transfers to the training side of things. Why am I going to train this guy? He's just going to leave me. Okay, I mean, it happens. It's going to happen. Yeah. You think my friend Kevin DeVito, you think he cares that people leave? It's just the nature of human beings. We evolve. Most of us evolve, and we have to leave. But I would rather see my guys leave better than they came in. It's just the nature. It's just how it is.
That's the giving nature that many in our industry have. We've chatted about the whole apprentice program, and I believe that you should have one or two going through the chairs, if you will, a 2-year program all the time. And then the question is, well, what if at the end I don't really have a slot for him? And then my next thought is, if you're involved in a network and you know people in your community, they just can't wait to take your apprentice from you and maybe pay you for whatever it cost you, because it's so hard to find an individual. And then the thing, the great dream that I always have is that this individual does go to work for another shop because you don't have a slot, and that's okay. Someday he may come back a whole lot better person.
Correct. You just don't know. I mean, that's what it is. Like, I have a guy who was with me for a couple of years, and he moved back to his home state, and we talk all the time. I'm not mad. He asks me for help sometimes. Yeah. What's the issue? At the end of the day, it's like it's a selfish act, because there's a greater issue. Like, it's an industry wide problem, not just you and your shop in your area. It has to change across the board.
One of the things you just told me about what makes a good diag tech, you said patience, money, and willing to train. It's got to be salary position.
Because of the nature of how it is, yes. It has to be there because you're not going to beat the clock on a diag time. I mean, even me, like for example, like I don't toot my own horn. I don't consider myself up there, but I feel like I have a necessary skill set and knowledge to tackle some of these problems, and I get my butt kicked very often. And you don't make time like that, so they have to be on a salary. It has to be. There's just no other way of doing it.
And the owner has to be willing to pay, even though there may not be any work in the bay. Which, he wouldn't have to pay if he was on flat rate. But you have to, so totally agree. And I think people have to get off of that. This business is all about if I don't have any work, I don't have to pay anybody. Over and over again, we continue to have guests on the show that say it's flat rate's dying. And I hear that more often. Mm-hmm. But this whole willing to train, the owner has to be willing to pay, number one. And you can't hire, like Dutch would take someone out to dinner to really understand, probably the spouse is there and asking a lot of questions and hearing about their world and their life and their commitment. And if the individual doesn't want to be willing to invest in 40 to 60 or 80 hours a year and go away to conferences for a weekend, like here at Vision, you can't hire them.
Mm-hmm. If your specific model of your shop is higher end stuff, he's definitely not a good fit. 100%. Now, if you're a quick lane, high ARO, general repair type of facility, he might be perfect for you. Matter of fact, he is perfect for you because he's not going to cost you much to keep around. And we both know that in the right locations, these shops are very profitable. I mean, it's just what it is. But I feel like that's my issue as well. Like we need to set ourselves to a higher standard in regards to that, because at the end of the day, the way the industry is moving, it seems like some of these bigger corporations are buying up some of these smaller ones, and that's gonna be good or bad. I at this point, I don't know.
So what do you think about all of that? I've talked to so many people that are mobile diag or a ton of just brick and mortar shop owners that are being romanced by an offer.
I'm going to compare this. This is going to be a really fat subject for me because I'm going to compare this to food in Chicago.
All right.
Because I feel like we have some amazing food in Chicago. And the reason why we have that is because we have so many established mom and pop places. They have grown, over the past century since they've been established, but they still hold true to the roots. And personally speaking, I feel like, as a whole, we don't want to lose too much of our identity by going, too corporate. But I understand I understand the need for it at times, for like, say, for example, like Walmart. That's a perfect example. A lot of people hated Walmart because it killed off a lot of the small, mom and pop places and, stuff like that. But if you really look at it as a whole, it also brought stuff to areas that you wouldn't have seen before. So it's kind of like, you have to take the good with the bad. So I'm all for change. I just don't know because our industry is still hands-on. It's still skill-based. Skills require. Most corporate stuff is by the numbers. You put pod A and pod B. You put your money here. You put your money there. We could only spend so much money, right? But if I know I have a great guy personally, if I know my guy is great, he's always on time, and I'm like, I can't pay you anymore. I'm going to make him. No, I'm going to figure out how I can pay you more. I'm going to keep you as much as I can. Sometimes those mindsets don't work out that way, and we end up losing, some of our best people for pennies.
Would you ever work for corporate?
Under the right circumstances, maybe.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm a very, kind of like go against the flow type of individual. Like I kind of have a problem with authority sometimes, and it's not that I can't take orders. When I'm working, man, I'm 120%, and I've worked for other people, so my father, he taught me always, if you're, no matter where you have to work, if you're cleaning the floors, if you're cleaning the bathrooms, man, make sure you're the best floor cleaner, the best bathroom cleaner you can be. So that I have that mentality. I'm a very hard worker, but I'm also not I'm not gonna roll over. Like if there's something I don't like, I will say it. Like, hey, no, man, this isn't right. We shouldn't be doing this, and that's sometimes not well received in corporate America.
No, it's not. You have to play by that rule book.
Correct.
even though maybe you had something to do with setting the rules. Still, you have to play by the rules, and you may even be a person. I think we're similar to a point where I'm a strategic thinker and an ideas person, and sometimes, I got to do this. I want to do this. It ain't in the playbook, and you end up becoming a little frustrated.
Correct.
You recently lost your dad. My sympathies.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it was right at the peak of COVID.
Okay. What did he teach you?
A lot about like life and responsibility. I found myself reflecting more about him after he passed, about a lot of the lessons he left me. And you really don't realize this, right? Because you're young and you're full of hormones. You're angry. At least for me, I'm a first generation son of an immigrant whose ideals and principles were based off his small town in Guatemala.
Sure.
But I'm in the city and I'm being raised with people of all ethnicities and races and cultures, and it was very interesting growing up. But the foundations he laid for me at working with him as well are pretty much the reason why I'm at where I'm at right now.
Wow, I think everyone who's listening can relate to that. Sometimes you learn an awful lot after.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I think it's human nature because we don't realize how much time we have until we don't. But it's one of those things where I can say I was very blessed. Like I hope to continue on and hopefully be able to shine the light on other people and coming in this generation and try to show them that there's still pride and honor and hard work and working hard. Just working a little bit smarter.
What I just heard you say is that you're going to be a mentor to other people as your dad was to you.
I hope so.
So I'm a shop owner listening to this, and I am being romanced by maybe putting a mobile truck on the road. Good idea?
I think so. I mean, there's a shift in the industry right now for that particular reason, but it's until that shift is done, I think it's still a profitable business if you're in the right market, because that's one of the issues. Market has a lot to do with mobile, not as much as, I mean, granted, when you're in repair as well, your market definitely dictates what you can charge. But for the most part, if you're really good, you're always going to be above the mark. Yeah, so and so's garage, he's expensive, but man, the office is beautiful. The work is top notch. They always diagnose my vehicle, right? So that comes with a price tag, and some people are willing to pay that price tag. With the mobile business, it's a little different. Your location will vary because some owners still don't have the correct mindset in terms of sublets. They see it as an expense. Like, say for example, if I charge you $150 for an event, a programming event, oh man, no, but the dealer, it's $125. And this is true. Some of the small towns, the dealer is actually cheaper than what a mobile guy can charge to come out, because after your subscriptions and fuel and
$25 is nothing.
Well, it's not, because if you value time over money, right? Okay, now I have to send two guys out. I have to, and how most of the time, most of our employees, let's just be honest here, like, oh, let's go to McDonald's real quick. Let's go do this. And by the time you figured out, you lost 2 hours in your day. But instead of calling me, I take all the risk. I assume all the liabilities. I show up, I knock it out, and you're done. And then you can just sublet the cost to your customer. But that part of that little line that I just told you right now is actually one of my sales pitches when I go out to new shops. Oh, but why should I pay you more than I pay the dealer? That's a fair question. It really is. Well, this is why. Time. Do you value time? If you value time, then, I'm your guy. If you don't, then it was nice talking.
Send your guys out.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you that difference.
Yeah, and then after 3 years of saving that $25, your employee just got into a car accident. There he went.
Tommy, is the mobile diag business just perpetuating some of the marginal shops, keep them in business?
100%. I'm one thing about my old man, I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to sit here and defend mobile diag. No, we're definitely keeping these marginal shops in business 100%, and to a fault, right? And I've had this moral dilemma over the years, and I've talked to gentlemen as is Dutch, Lucas, and what brought me peace to it is I came to the realization that at least I'm fixing the car. Yeah, unfortunately, you spent too much money on this vehicle, more money than you should have. But I resolved an issue. Whether the customer knows or doesn't know, that's not me. My job is done, and I provided value to somebody, whether it was a shop owner, whether it was a vehicle owner. But I fixed the car, and it's back on the road. So I made my peace with that. But you're absolutely correct. Some of these shops should not be in business. 100%.
I find that an answer that I kind of knew what you were going to say. Will the marginal shops, even though you're there for them, say you're doing air conditioning work, ADAS work, key work, diag programming work, will there just be a point in time where they're just going to have to go away?
Yes, they will. It's the nature of things. Some of the struggles that I see in these vehicles, because again, I'm still in a relative low income area, so I still see a lot more. I see a combination of stuff because I work with body shops, so I see newer stuff, and I work with some of the older shops in the area. They work on older stuff. They're struggling on cars that are 15 years old right now. That's scary. I mean, and I'm not talking about like, oh man, I missed this. Happens to everybody. No, I'm talking about a deep understanding of basic fuel management strategies on a car from 2008. We're in 2023. So that's the gap. The information gap has gotten very, very, very wide.
So I guess the point is that the shop is going to rely on sublet for 8 hours a day, and they're going to ask themselves, why am I doing this?
It will come to that point, because the scariest part for me is getting the calls. Hey, I have this X and X, Volkswagen. I need you to come with your machine so I can do the brakes. I'm like, yeah, it's this much. Man, I'm only charging this much for the job. I'm like, so I understand. Well, you want to call your customer back and tell them? I'm like, what am I going to tell them? That I can't do it? I'm like, if you're going to lose money, why are you even doing it? I mean, it's simple business, right? If something's not producing you profit, why do it?
I love your point. The jobs are going to get quoted wrong. You're going to come in and basically charge a smart, intelligent price, and they're going to wake up one day and say, wow, what did I miss?
Yeah, so they're going to, again, it's a stops. They're going to stop doing it. But then now if the majority of the vehicles go to that certain route, okay, fine, I'll buy your machine. Okay. I buy this beautiful machine, $5-7 grand. When I'm looking at it, I can't use it. That's what's going to happen.
So let's talk about Trained by Techs.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
call it the group, the guys?
The group?
The group.
Yes, sir.
Wow. What an ingenious idea. 5-6 years ago now?
2017.
17? 6 years?
Yeah, 2017 is when
6 years.
When it first gave birth. The LLC in Illinois gave birth in 2019, and we're officially a 501c3 as of last year.
Didn't I do an interview here at Vision with you?
I was,
and
it was Brian.
Bryn?
It was Bryn, Brian, Chris, and Justin Miller at the time.
And which one won the scholarship?
Actually, at that time,
Yeah.
it was just what we sent. We pulled money together to send Martino.
Ah, that's who it was.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then
Chris, right?
Yes, Chris. Yes. And then because of that, we for the next two sessions, the next two visions, we sponsored, like, I think it was a total of 5 guys. Total.
So look, the things that I heard about Trained by Techs in your early days was, I think it was Bryn. I was at a conference and I was talking to Bryn. I says, "Do you ever get any sleep?" and he goes, "I don't know." He says, "But I wake up at 1 a.m. and we're all seeming to write our case studies, to be online. And nobody was sleeping in that group.
Right.
We were so passionate about paying it forward."
The beginning of it was really beautiful. Once you get into like the legalities and stuff, it becomes more of a chore. But because of COVID, man, our application took like 3 times as long, and we kind of idled a little bit. And right now, thankfully, every one of our members is doing an amazing part in their industry, and we will be. I am confident we'll be back in full force this year.
Good for you guys.
Thank you.
Look at the horizon, the technology horizon.
It's a great time.
Paying attention to EVs?
Oh, of course, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, they're, regardless of anybody's personal feelings, they're here, they're coming, and I'm thankfully to be on the part of the industry that says bring them on. I mean, there's nothing to fear here. It's still a vehicle. It's still nuts and bolts, and still reading.
And we've got classes here at Vision.
Yep.
Golly. Did I mention early that we're here sponsored by Napa Auto Care? I never did.
No.
All right. See, this is why you get the first one going and you get your stride going.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, Jason and the team, Napa Auto Care, for sponsoring us here. So what's Tomi Oliva's superpower?
Me?
Yeah.
Making fun of people. I mean, every time
That's the first I've ever heard that.
every time I'm here, man, it's a blast. I just the stuff that comes out of my mouth scares me sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, it's gotten me in trouble a few times, but it's all in good fun.
The infamous Sheridan Bar.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about that in enough episodes that there's so much networking that goes on there.
I'm pretty sure in 2020 that was a nice epicenter.
It was. So is COVID behind us? I mean, are we moving forward?
I feel like we've gotten to the point where it's sad to say, but and this is again this is definitely not a political standpoint, but as humans and as things evolve, like obviously the people who are going to get sick got sick, and now it's just common cold or flu for the most of us. Some people are still fighting it, but we also fight pneumonias. We also fight all types of things.
Yeah.
So I think we've gotten to a point physiologically, if that's how you pronounce it. I'm bad with English sometimes.
That's good.
That we I think it's behind us. I hope it's behind us.
I heard some pundit say just this past week, it's going to be here forever. We're going to call it the COVID flu.
I agree. I really do agree with that. I mean, it has to happen. I mean, things evolve. We evolve. It evolves. It's we've been doing this for millennium already. Like we get sick, we die off. We get sick, we die off. It sucks.
So think about when you get the flu. You say, I feel like crap. My body aches. I got to call the doctor. They may do the symptoms over the phone, or they may say, come on in. Today we have a do-it-yourselfer kit,
Yeah.
COVID kit.
I mean, not for nothing. If this was a pandemic. I mean, it wasn't. At least for me personally, like a lot of growth I think came from a lot of people. A lot of perspective came into play. For a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of suffering, 100%. But in the grand scheme of things, I think as a society, we may come out better from this.
Why? How?
Because a lot of us learned that, like, again, we don't realize how much time we have until we don't have it. And so a lot of us that weren't sick or didn't get sick, everybody was affected by this, either financially or emotionally or physically. But at the end of the day, once you look past all that, you'll see where, okay, yeah, man, this guy, he was a picture of health. He passed away. Man, let me get walking. Let me cut down on the sodas. Let me do this, and let me worry about my health a little bit more. And I think that was one of the great effects of COVID, including for me. I mean, I stopped eating out.
You're talking about being vulnerable, trying to not be vulnerable to physical conditions where COVID could come in and stomp on you worse than you've ever had a cold or flu before.
Correct.
Because it's almost in our mind, we think of it as being more deadly than other things that we could get. Happenstance. We just get them. Yeah. Refreshing ideas. So finally, any advice to technicians or shop owners?
For technicians, better times are coming. Don't be afraid to move. Don't be it's okay to demand stuff from your employers. For shop owners that are not retiring, because I said this before, one of the biggest issues in our industry in terms of shop owners versus technicians is the fact that there's more of the older generation shop owners, and not mentality wise, just older in age, where they're just about to like cha-ching, I'm out. Like I'm cashing out. I'm done. And 5 more years, I'm selling and I'm out of here. The middle-aged shop owners that are just getting into them, for them, my best advice is just find that area that you enjoy the most and just go for it. If you like doing R&R and breaks and stuff, man, you're gonna make money for years. If you like diag, dive into it, but don't be afraid and don't be desperate. Don't
be desperate. I like that.
Yep.
I like that a lot. Wow. So refreshing, so honest, so transparent. Tomi Oliva, San Jose Auto, Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for finding the time here at Vision to be with us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.